Hello, Symposiast. I'm Dr. Angela Puca, Religious Studies PhD, and your online resource for the academic study of magic, esotericism, paganism, shamanism, and all things occult. In this episode, we talk about servitors. So, what are these servitors? Servitors are intentionally created metaphysical constructs designed to perform specific tasks, functioning as bridges between the metaphysical and psychological realms. Unlike naturally occurring spirits or deities, servitors are artificial entities brought into existence through focused intention, energy, and ritual. Emerging prominently in modern esoteric discourse through chaos magic in the late 20th century, figures like Peter J. Carroll and Phil Hine conceptualized servitors as extensions of the human mind, operating within a belief driven framework. However, the roots of servitor like practices trace back to various historical and cultural traditions. In Jewish mysticism, for example, the golem, animated through divine names and mystical knowledge, serves as a historical precursor to servitors. And obviously, precursors are not the same thing as something that literally and linearly comes from another thing. But it's also interesting to see that things like servitors, which are a modern concept, have precursors and similarities in other traditions and other parts of history. And here with the golem, we have one such example as a precursor of the servitors that blends material and spiritual components. Similarly, Renaissance Hermeticism's homunculus, described by Paracelsus, blurs the lines between spiritual and material creation, which reflects humanity's fascination with shaping the immaterial into practical forms. Tibetan Buddhism introduces the tulpa, a thought form created through meditative techniques, which, while designed for spiritual work, parallels the psychological dimensions of servitors. European folklore also intersects with servitor like concepts through domestic spirits like the Slavic domovoi or Scandinavian nisse, invoked and maintained through symbolic rituals akin to servitor creation. Modern esotericism, particularly chaos magic, reframes servitors as manifestations of will and belief, functioning as tools and mechanisms for engaging with the subconscious. This psychological perspective draws on Jungian theories of the collective unconscious, viewing servitors as practical tools and pathways for self exploration. Despite their historical roots and contemporary relevance, servitors remain underexplored in academic discourse. So, in today's episode, I will overview several primary sources and dive into the history and nature of servitors, as well as the techniques found in a few traditions to create them. So, stay tuned because you will have some practical examples from different traditions, which might be useful in case you're a practitioner. So, I hope that you stay tuned until the end because this is going to be quite fun. But before we dive brains into today's topic, I'd like to remind you that this project of delivering free academic scholarship based on peer-reviewed sources or my analysis of primary sources can only exist thanks to your support. So if you have the means and want to support my project, please consider doing so on PayPal, Coffee, YouTube memberships, my Patreon community. I'd say that Patreon and PayPal are my absolute favorite ways to support me and my work. Patreon because we have an amazing growing community and I'm really sure that you would love it. We have monthly lectures, we have a Discord server, and there are lots of different perks, including having one-to-one conversations with me depending on your chosen tier. And PayPal, of course, is also a great option for you to send me one-off or multiple donations so that I can keep this project going. So thank you so much for considering. I also hope that you sign up for my newsletter because I post everything there, and I also post images and things that I'm doing at the moment, things that I don't really post on social media. And also when I post them on social media, you may miss them out because the algorithm might not suggest them to you. So I would definitely recommend signing up for my newsletter. It's free, and you find all the links that I'm mentioning in the description box, in pinned comment, cards, bio, everywhere. So thank you so much for considering. And now let's go back to learning. The concept of intentionally creating entities or constructs to serve a purpose is not unique to modern magical systems, but is deeply embedded in diverse esoteric traditions and cultural practices across history. These practices, while varying in method and intent, share a common thread: the human aspiration to externalize power, knowledge, or will through symbolic, ritualistic, or metaphysical means. By tracing the historical and cross cultural antecedents of servitor creation, we can better understand the transcultural nature and evolution of this practice. In Jewish mysticism, the golem represents one of the earliest documented examples of an artificial entity brought to life through spiritual and ritualistic means. Rooted in the later mystical interpretations of the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Creation, the golem is described as an animated figure traditionally formed from clay or dust and imbued with life through the use of sacred letters and divine names. The word emet, truth, is often inscribed on the golem's forehead, signifying its life and divine connection. When the task is complete, the removal of the letter Aleph transforms Emet into Met, which means death, returning the golem to inanimate matter. The creation of a golem was considered a highly advanced mystical practice, achievable only by spiritually elevated individuals, such as rabbis deeply immersed in Kabbalistic lore. While the golem is often portrayed in folklore as a literal figure, its deeper significance lies in its symbolic interpretation of the human ability to channel divine creative power. In this sense, the golem serves as a precursor to modern servitors, demonstrating the interplay between intention, language, and metaphysical transformation. During the Renaissance, the Hermetic and alchemical traditions offered their own interpretations of artificial creation. Paracelsus, a prominent figure in Renaissance alchemy, wrote extensively about the homunculus, a miniature human said to be generated through alchemical processes. In his work De Natura Rerum from 1529, Paracelsus described the homunculus as a being created within a flask using semen, animal components, and other alchemical substances. Unlike the spiritual focus of the golem, the homunculus was conceived as a demonstration of the alchemist's mastery over the natural and divine forces. The process of creating a homunculus was seen as both a symbolic and literal expression of humanity's ability to mirror divine creation. While Paracelsus's work on the homunculus blends scientific inquiry with esoteric philosophy, it reflects a key theme that continues into modern servitor practices: the blending of physical materials and spiritual intent to bring forth a purposeful construct. In Tibetan Buddhism, the creation of tulpas is a sophisticated practice rooted in the belief that thoughts, when concentrated and refined through meditative discipline, can take on tangible or semi tangible form. Advanced practitioners, often referred to as yogis, use prolonged visualizations, mental focus, and energy manipulation to give life to these thought forms. Tulpas are typically used as tools for spiritual development, embodying specific qualities or serving as companions in contemplative exercises. The Western esoteric tradition encountered the concept of tulpas through figures such as Alexandra David Neal, who documented her experiences with Tibetan mystical practices during her travels. David Neal's accounts suggest that the process of tulpa creation involves not only intense meditative effort, but also an ethical dimension, as the practitioner must maintain control over the tulpa to prevent it from gaining independence or becoming disruptive. This aspect mirrors modern servitor practices, where practitioners are cautioned about the risks of neglecting or mismanaging their creations. Across Europe, folklore and folk magic have long included practices related to the creation or summoning of domestic spirits. Entities like the Slavic domovoi and the Scandinavian nisse were believed to act as guardians or helpers for households, often requiring offerings or rituals to ensure their cooperation. While these spirits were typically seen as pre-existing beings, some traditions describe the act of shaping a spirit or binding its essence to a specific task or location. What unites these traditions is the shared belief in the transformative power of intention, ritual, and symbolism to bring forth entities that serve a human defined purpose. Whether grounded in mystical theology, alchemical experimentation, or folk traditions, these practices reflect humanity's enduring fascination with the act of creation and its implications for power, control, and spiritual connection. They also demonstrate the evolution of thought around metaphysical constructs, moving from divine or natural sources in historical traditions to the more individualized and psychological frameworks of modern practices. The contemporary understanding and practice of creating servitors have been significantly shaped by modern esotericism, particularly the chaos magic movement, Wicca, and modern pagan traditions. These systems have adopted older metaphysical concepts and infused them with a focus on personal belief, psychological frameworks, and individual empowerment. So let's explore how servitors are approached and utilized in modern magical practices, showing their flexibility and accessibility compared to their historical antecedents. Chaos magic, a movement that emerged in the late 20th century, has been instrumental in popularizing the concept of servitors as constructs rooted in the practitioner's intent and belief. Pioneers of chaos magic, such as Peter J. Carroll and Phil Hine, framed servitors as extensions of the magician's wheel, existing within a flexible, belief driven system that eschews rigid dogma. In this framework, servitors are neither inherently spiritual nor material. Instead, they are understood as tools created through symbolic and psychological mechanisms. Chaos magicians typically employ a systematic approach to servitor creation, which begins with clearly defining the servitor's purpose. This process involves the creation of a sigil, a symbolic representation of the servitor's intent, followed by rituals designed to charge the sigil and give life to the servitor. Unlike traditional magical practices, which often involve invoking external forces, chaos magic emphasizes the internal origin of servitors, framing them as manifestations of the practitioner's subconscious mind. This perspective draws on Jungian psychology, particularly the concept of the collective unconscious and the archetypal energies that can be accessed and shaped through focused intent. Practical applications of servitors in chaos magic are diverse. They may be designed to amplify creativity, provide protection, or even influence external circumstances. The flexibility of chaos magic allows practitioners to tailor servitors to their specific needs without adhering to established religious or metaphysical structures. This adaptability has made servitors an attractive tool for modern magicians seeking pragmatic results in their magical work. In Wiccan and Neo Pagan traditions, the creation of servitors has been adapted to align with the spiritual and elemental frameworks of these systems. While traditional Wicca primarily focuses on invoking deities and natural spirits, some practitioners have embraced the servitor concept as a way to harness specific energies for magical purposes. These servitors are often associated with elemental forces, earth, air, fire, and water, or tied to the cycles of nature that form the foundation of Wiccan cosmology. A servitor in Wiccan practice might be created to maintain protective wards around a sacred space, amplify healing energies during a ritual, or assist in divination. The process typically involves crafting a physical representation of the servitor, such as a doll, crystal, or jar filled with symbolic items. Rituals to consecrate and activate the servitor often include invocations to elemental or deity energies, followed by a spell or chant that imbues the servitor with its specific purpose. This integration of servitor creation into Wiccan and neo pagan frameworks demonstrates the adaptability of the practice to systems grounded in nature based spirituality. One of the more innovative developments in modern servitor creation is the integration of technology into magical practices. Contemporary practitioners use digital tools to create and manage servitors, blending the symbolic and metaphysical with the technological. For example, servitors may be represented as digital avatars, sigils stored on electronic devices, or even programmed into algorithms designed to manifest specific outcomes. This approach aligns with the chaos magic principle of adaptability, as it allows practitioners to integrate magical practices into their daily lives using familiar tools. Online communities and forums have also facilitated the exchange of ideas about servitor creation, allowing practitioners to share techniques, experiences, and ethical considerations. The accessibility of digital platforms has contributed to the democratization of magical knowledge, making servitor practices available to a global audience. Modern interpretations of servitors often emphasize their psychological dimension, particularly the idea that they are projections or externalizations of the practitioner's inner processes. This perspective is not limited to chaos magic but extends into other esoteric traditions, where servitors are seen as a means of engaging with unconscious desires, fears, or archetypes. By externalizing these inner forces, practitioners can work with them more effectively, whether for self development, healing, or magical intent. The psychological model does not diminish the metaphysical significance of servitors, but rather complements it. Servitors can be understood as both psychological tools and metaphysical constructs, existing at the intersection of the material and immaterial. This dual perspective underscores the versatility of servitors, allowing them to be adapted to a wide range of spiritual and personal practices. The creation and use of servitors raise important ethical questions, particularly regarding their autonomy and the responsibilities of the practitioner. In chaos magic and other modern systems, servitors are typically seen as non sentient constructs that exist solely to fulfill their designed purpose. However, some practitioners report experiences that suggest a degree of independence or awareness in their creations, leading to debates about whether servitors should be treated as entities with their own agency. Additionally, there are risks associated with neglecting or mismanaging servitors. A servitor that is not properly dissolved after completing its task may continue to draw energy, potentially leading to unintended consequences for the practitioner. These ethical considerations highlight the need for clear guidelines and careful practice in the creation and maintenance of servitors. In modern esotericism, servitors represent a synthesis of ancient magical traditions, psychological insights, and contemporary innovation. They are both a continuation of humanity's desire to shape and control metaphysical forces and a reflection of the evolving nature of magical practice in the modern world. By understanding the frameworks and methodologies of servitor creation, we really gain insight into the mechanism of magic and also into the deeper symbolic and psychological processes that underlie human spirituality. Now, let's look at the practical instructions and ways for servitor creation. The creation of servitors involves a structured process that combines intent, symbolism, and ritual practice. While the methodologies vary across traditions, all servitor creation practices require clarity of purpose and an understanding of the mechanisms that bring these constructs into existence. I'm now going to outline practical instructions for creating servitors in the frameworks of chaos magic, Wicca and neo-paganism, Tibetan tulpa practices, and folkloric traditions. So, chaos magic provides a highly flexible and streamlined approach to servitor creation, rooted in the psychological and symbolic manipulation of belief. The following process is inspired by the works of Peter J. Carroll and Phil Hine and is a foundational method for chaos magicians. So let's look at this process of servitor creation. First, the practitioner defines the servitor's purpose. They begin by clearly articulating what the servitor will do, writing a concise statement of intent, such as, "This servitor will inspire creativity and motivation for writing." to create a sigil. The practitioner here would design a unique symbol that represents the servitor's purpose. This can be done by condensing the statement of intent into a set of letters, which are then stylized into an abstract design. The third step is to visualize the servitor. In a meditative state, the practitioner imagines the servitor's appearance, personality, and attributes. It could be anthropomorphic, animalistic, or entirely abstract. The form should symbolically align with its function. Fourth step is to charge the servitor, focusing on the sigil while meditating or performing a ritual act. This could include chanting, visualizing energy flowing into the sigil, or using tools like candles or crystals to direct intent. The fifth step is to activate the servitor. Here, the practitioner speaks an invocation to awaken the servitor, such as, I call you into being, name, arise with purpose and clarity to fulfill specific task. Your energy flows from me, but your will is aligned with mine. Go forth and achieve this work. This would be an example of the invocation that could be done. The sixth step is anchor the servitor, assigning the servitor a home or an anchor, such as a small object or digital file, which acts as its focal point. This allows the practitioner to connect with and reinforce the servitor's energy. The seventh step is maintenance, which means periodically feeding the servitor with energy, either through meditation, focusing on its sigil, or offering symbolic gestures aligned with its purpose. The eighth and final step is dissolution. When the servitor's task is complete, the practitioner dissolves it through ritual, thanking it for its service and releasing its energy back into the practitioner or the environment. Now let's look at the ritual example from Wicca and neo-paganism. In Wicca and contemporary paganism, servitors are often integrated into elemental and nature-based frameworks, with an emphasis on their connection to natural energies and spiritual balance. So the preparation here would be to choose the servitor's elemental base according to its purpose. Earth would be for stability and protection, air would be for intellectual clarity, fire would be for passion and motivation, and water for emotional healing. The second step is to create a physical representation, to craft a symbolic object to represent the servitor. For example, to use a small figure made of clay for an earth servitor, a feather for air, a candle for fire, or a vial of water for water, obviously. The third step would be to consecrate the servitor. In a sacred space, the practitioner would call upon the corresponding elemental energies or deities. For example, for an air servitor, they might want to invoke deities associated with intellect or communication, or call upon the elemental spirit of air. The fourth step is to charge the servitor. Here, the practitioner would speak a spell or chant, imbuing the servitor with energy and purpose. For instance, by the winds that flow and the thoughts that soar, I give life to you. Aid me in clear thought and swift understanding. May your energy be aligned with my will. The fifth step would be ritual activation. Here it would be, for instance, using a candle or other energy source to symbolically spark the servitor into action. The sixth step would be offerings and maintenance, to provide offerings tied to its elements, so incense for air, crystals for earth, and so on, to sustain its energy and connection to the practitioner. And then the seventh and final step is to return to nature. So when the servitor's role is fulfilled, to dismantle its physical representation and return the components to nature with gratitude. As for the Tibetan tulpa practices, the creation of tulpas originates in Tibetan Buddhist meditative traditions, but elements of the practice can inform servitor creation. So a servitor creation could be inspired by the Tibetan Buddhist practice of tulpa by utilizing this kind of steps. The first is meditative preparation, to enter a meditative state with a calm and focused mind. The second is a detailed visualization, to gradually build the tulpa in the practitioner's mind, focusing on every detail, the shape, the texture, the color, and movement, and repeat this process regularly until the visualization becomes vivid and autonomous. The third step is to infuse with intention, to assign a clear purpose or role to the tulpa. This might involve verbal affirmations or silent concentration during meditation. The fourth step is to sustain through practice. Regular meditation reinforces the tulpa's existence and ensures its continued vitality and connection to the practitioner's intent. The fifth step is dissolution, which would be absorbing the tulpa back into the mind through meditative focus, dissolving its form and reintegrating its energy. In European folk traditions, the creation or summoning of domestic spirits offers an alternative perspective on servitor practices. So we have, for instance, the symbolic object, which is to choose a household object such as a doll, a broom, or a small figurine as the spirit's vessel. The second step would be ritual offerings, to place offerings such as food, coins, or herbs near the object, accompanied by words of intent. For example, Spirit of house, I call you forth to guard this space. Accept this gift as a token of my gratitude and work in harmony with my will. Then we would have the activation ritual, to perform an act that symbolizes life or movement, such as sprinkling water on the object or surrounding it with a circle of light using candles or lanterns. Then there's care and maintenance, to regularly provide offerings to sustain the spirit's energy and ensure its alignment with your intent. And the final part is the ritual release. When the spirit's work is complete, the practitioner would express gratitude and either bury the object or symbolically release the spirit with smoke or fire. The creation and utilization of servitors raise significant ethical and theoretical questions, especially concerning their autonomy, the practitioner's responsibilities, and the metaphysical versus psychological nature of these constructs. These considerations are essential for understanding both the philosophical underpinnings of servitor practices and their broader implications in modern esotericism. The creation of servitors involves a practitioner deliberately shaping metaphysical constructs or psychological projections to fulfill specific tasks. While servitors are generally viewed as tools, their perceived independence or autonomy in some reports challenges this notion. Ethical issues arise when practitioners neglect the responsibility to manage and dissolve their constructs appropriately. One ethical consideration is whether servitors possess a degree of awareness. In chaos magic and related traditions, servitors are typically treated as non-sentient extensions of the practitioner's will. However, anecdotal accounts from practitioners sometimes describe servitors exhibiting behavior that suggests autonomy, such as acting beyond their programmed intent or developing unexpected traits. This has led to debates within esoteric communities about whether servitors might possess a form of emergent consciousness, albeit one derived from their creator's intent. Practitioners are advised to maintain clear boundaries between themselves and their servitors to avoid conflating the servitor's perceived independence with actual autonomy. A key ethical guidelines is ensuring that servitors are dissolved or reabsorbed after their purpose is fulfilled. Failure to dissolve a servitor can lead to unintended consequences, such as the construct consuming energy indiscriminately or lingering in the practitioner's psychic or energetic field. The energy dynamics of servitor creation also present ethical and practical challenges. Servitors rely on energy to sustain their existence, which may come from the practitioner, ambient sources, or specific offerings. If a servitor's energy needs are not carefully managed, it may inadvertently deplete the practitioner's vitality or draw energy from unintended sources. This phenomenon, often described as a rogue servitor, underscores the importance of regular maintenance and energy monitoring. To mitigate these risks, practitioners are generally advised to regularly feed the servitor through focused intent, symbolic offerings, or other energy sources that align with its purpose, monitor the servitor's activity through meditation, journaling, or divination to ensure it remains within the bounds of its programming, and employ clear rituals to dissolve or deactivate the servitor when its task is complete, preventing it from lingering or becoming problematic. Now, let's look at the theoretical frameworks for understanding servitors, which often oscillates between metaphysical and psychological interpretations. This duality reflects broader debates within esotericism about the nature of magical constructs, even entities and deities, and their relationship to human consciousness. The first interpretation is the metaphysical interpretation. From a metaphysical perspective, servitors are understood as independent constructs that exist within a spiritual or energetic plane. In this view, servitors function as tools for manipulating external metaphysical forces, much like spirits or deities in traditional magical systems. This perspective aligns with historical practices such as the creation of golems or tulpas, where the focus is on externalizing energy or divine power into tangible form. Then we have the psychological interpretation, which frames servitors as projections of the practitioner's subconscious mind. This approach draws on Jungian concepts such as the archetypes and the collective unconscious, and suggests that servitors are tools for engaging with and influencing internal psychological processes. Chaos magic heavily emphasizes this model, positing that servitors are not truly external entities, but rather symbolic representations of the practitioner's focused intent. It's important to highlight that these interpretations are not mutually exclusive. Many contemporary practitioners adopt a hybrid approach, recognizing that servitors can function both as metaphysical tools and as psychological mechanisms. This dual perspective allows for a more nuanced understanding of servitors and tries to accommodate diverse belief systems and experiences. One of the most intriguing theoretical questions surrounding servitors is the extent to which they can exhibit autonomy or emergent behavior. While servitors are typically programmed to fulfill specific tasks, some practitioners report that their creations develop characteristics or behaviors that were not explicitly intended. This phenomenon is often attributed to the servitor's deep integration with a practitioner's subconscious mind, which may imbue the construct with aspects of the creator's psyche that were not consciously acknowledged. So, I suppose to use Jungian terms, we could say that the servitor may deep into the shadow of its creator and taking elements that even the creator is not aware of. Alternatively, from a metaphysical standpoint, emergent behavior in servitors might be explained by their interaction with external energetic or spiritual forces. In this view, servitors act as conduits for energies beyond the practitioner's control, potentially leading to outcomes that exceed their initial programming. Such accounts, while rare, contribute to the perception of servitors as liminal constructs that blur the boundaries between the human and the metaphysical. The act of creating servitors also raises broader ethical questions about the practitioner's intent and control. Practitioners are generally advised to consider the purpose and implications of their servitor's role, particularly when it involves influencing other people or external circumstances. Using servitors for manipulative or coercive purposes is generally discouraged within ethical magical practices, as it risks infringing on the autonomy and consent of others. Moreover, the process of creating and managing servitors requires self-awareness and discipline. Practitioners are generally advised to remain vigilant about their motivations, ensuring that their work with servitors aligns with their ethical and spiritual values. This self-reflective approach not only enhances the efficacy of servitor practices, but also mitigates the potential risks associated with their misuse. Now, let's look at some case studies that can illustrate even better how the rituals to create servitors can work in different traditions, the ones that we have mentioned so far. So to illustrate the practical and theoretical insights into servitor creation, we will try now to explore these specific case studies and the diverse applications across esoteric traditions and contexts. So let's start with chaos magic. So in chaos magic, servitors are often employed to overcome psychological barriers and foster specific qualities such as creativity or motivation. A contemporary practitioner documented the creation of a servitor named Inspira, designed to enhance their creative output during a writing project. The servitor was tasked with generating new ideas, sustaining focus during writing sessions, and helping the practitioner overcome writer's block. As for the creation process, the practitioner designed a sigil representing Inspira's intent, incorporating symbols of creativity, like a quill and a flame. And in a ritual involving candlelight and chanting, the sigil was charged with energy and visualized as a glowing entity resembling a figure of light and movement. Now, how was this servitor utilized? Before writing sessions, the practitioner meditated on the sigil, imagining Inspira as an active presence inspiring fresh ideas. Over time, they reported noticeable improvements in focus and idea generation. And then, upon completing the project, the servitor was dissolved through a ritual of gratitude, with the sigil burned to release its energy. So this is a case that highlights the psychological dimensions of servitor creation and shows how focused intent and symbolic anchoring can address internal obstacles. The second case study is a Wiccan one. So a Wiccan practitioner created a servitor named Guardian Oak to protect their home from negative energies and influences. Drawing on elemental correspondences and natural imagery, the servitor was designed as a protective spirit connected to the earth element. The purpose of the servitor creation was to ward the home against intrusions, harmful intentions, and energy imbalances. The creation process was a clay figure of an oak tree that was crafted, symbolizing stability and protection. During a full moon ritual, the figure was consecrated with earth-based correspondences, such as soil and crystals, while the practitioner invoked protective deities. As for the application, the servitor was instructed to maintain an energetic barrier around the home, and the clay figure was placed near the front door as its anchor. To maintain the servitor, the practitioner offered small tokens, such as stones and herbs, to sustain the servitor's energy along with periodic rituals of reinforcement. And after moving to a new home, the practitioner thanked Guardian Oak and buried the clay figure, symbolically returning its energy to the earth. This is an example that demonstrates the adaptability of servitor practices and how they would adapt to a nature-focused framework, which blends traditional Wiccan elements with servitor mechanics. The third case study would be tulpamancy. Modern interpretations of the Tibetan tulpa practice have emerged in subcultures such as tulpamancy communities, where practitioners create thought forms as companions or aids for personal growth. One documented case involved a practitioner who created a tulpa named Astra for emotional support during a period of loneliness. The purpose here was to serve as a comforting presence, provide motivation, and encourage positive mental habits. The creation process was the practitioner visualized Astra daily, imagining her as a benevolent humanoid figure with a calm and encouraging personality. Affirmations and focused meditation were used to reinforce Astra's presence and purpose. And then, as for the application, over months, the practitioner reported that Astra became a stable mental construct, capable of communicating through the practitioner's own inner dialogue. These help them overcome feelings of isolation and develop healthier coping mechanisms. Then, after the practitioner no longer needed the tulpa, Astra was consciously dissolved through meditative visualization, with gratitude expressed for her assistance. This example highlights the psychological potential of servitor-like practices for self-care and emotional resilience, which shows a therapeutic potential for practitioners that are interested and endorse these beliefs. Another interesting case study is from folk magic. In a rural community drawing on European folk traditions, a farmer created a domestic spirit or servitor-like construct named field guardian to protect crops and encourage growth. This practice was part of a syncretic system blending folk beliefs and localized ritual techniques. The purpose of the servitor creation was to ensure healthy crops and protect against pests or adverse weather conditions. The creation process was a small scarecrow figure that was crafted and imbued with intent through prayers and offerings of grain and milk. Rituals tied to agricultural cycles, such as planting and harvest, were used to reinforce the field guardian's energy. As for the application, the scarecrow was placed in the center of the fields, symbolically watching over the crops. The farmer performed seasonal offerings to maintain the construct's effectiveness. At the end of the growing season, the scarecrow was burned in a celebratory ritual, symbolizing gratitude and renewal for the next cycle. This is a case that illustrates how servitor-like practices can be seamlessly integrated into folk traditions and can serve practical and symbolic purposes in communal life. Now, these case studies demonstrate the versatility of servitors or servitor-like entities across contexts, from highly individualized chaos magic constructs to community-oriented folk magic practices. The applications range from psychological support to ritual enhancement and practical problem solving, and shows the adaptability of servitor creation to diverse needs and traditions. Some common threads across these examples include the importance of clear intent and symbolism in guiding the servitor's creation and purpose, the role of ritual acts, whether formal or informal, in animating and sustaining the construct, and the necessity of ethical management, including proper dissolution and gratitude rituals. Through these applications, servitors emerge as tools of creativity and empowerment and offer a bridge between human intent and the unseen forces that shape human experiences. These practices enrich individual magical traditions and also contribute to a deeper understanding of the interplay between belief, energy, and action in esotericism. Servitor creation represents one of the most dynamic and adaptable practices within the broad spectrum of esoteric traditions. By intentionally crafting metaphysical constructs through a combination of ritual, intent, and symbolic frameworks, practitioners engage in a deeply creative and transformative process. Servitors embody the intersection of ancient magical practices, psychological models, and modern innovations, and offer a compelling lens through which to explore the evolving nature of magic and spirituality. The analysis of servitor or servitor adjacent creation across historical, cultural, and modern contexts reveals its transcultural appeal, from the mystical golems of Jewish Kabbalah to the meditative tulpas of Tibetan Buddhism, and from the elemental servitors of Wicca to the pragmatic constructs of chaos magic. The practice of shaping externalized entities serves as a testament to humanity's enduring fascination with creation and control. Despite their diverse origins, these practices share fundamental principles: the belief in the power of focused intent, the use of symbolic anchors, and the reliance on ritual to bring the unseen into a tangible or semi-tangible form. This transculturality, I don't know if it exists as a term, but if not, I've just made it up, underscores the role of servitors as liminal constructs, existing at the boundaries of the material and the immaterial, the psychological and the metaphysical. Servitor creation contributes to broader theoretical discussions within esotericism, particularly in relations to one, the nature of beliefs, because servitors highlight the centrality of belief in magical practices, because they function as tools for both manipulating external forces and exploring inner consciousness. Also, the psychological metaphysical dichotomy, the dual framing of servitors as psychological projections and actual metaphysical entities, challenges rigid distinctions between these domains and invites a more integrative approach to understanding esoteric practices. Then there's also the ethics of creation, the ethical considerations surrounding servitors, including questions of autonomy, energy, management, and intent, provide a framework for reflecting on the responsibilities inherent in all magical work. In contemporary esotericism, servitor creation continues to evolve, reflecting changes in cultural, technological, and spiritual paradigms. The integration of digital tools, the rise of online esoteric communities, and the increasing accessibility of magical knowledge have expanded the possibilities for servitor practices, making them more diverse and widely practiced than ever before. As practitioners continue to adapt servitor techniques to new contexts and challenges, the practice itself becomes a living tradition, capable of reflecting the needs and aspirations of each generation. Whether used for personal development, ritual enhancement, or practical problem solving, servitors remain a vital and versatile aspect of esoteric practice. The study of servitors offers profound insights into the creative and transformative potential of esoteric practices. As constructs shaped by intent and belief, they exemplify the power of human imagination to engage with the unseen and to manifest change in the visible world. By bridging the psychological and metaphysical, the symbolic and the practical, servitors challenge us to consider the boundaries of what is possible in the realms of magic and spirituality. Ultimately, servitors are more than tools. They are expressions of the human capacity to dream, to create, and to connect with forces beyond the immediate. Through their study and practice, we gain not only a deeper understanding of Stoicism, but also of ourselves and our ability to shape or wanting to shape reality. These are my references here, which you will also find in the info box. This is it for today's video. If you watched until this point, leave me a servitor emoji. And you're wondering, what is a servitor emoji, Angela? Well, it depends on your servitor. So is it a person? Then add a person emoji, a male or a female, or if it is an animal, you can add an animal. So this is like creative emoji time for you guys. So just put the emoji that reminds you of your servitor or the servitor that you are fantasizing to create in the info box so that I know that you have watched until this point. And if you have, congratulations, you're very committed to your learning. I'm very proud of you. Now, my dear Symposias, as you know, this project is not sponsored by any fancy company. It's really sponsored by you. It's really here and can exist thanks to you. So if you have the means and want to keep it alive, please consider supporting my work with donations on PayPal, joining my fantastic Patreon community, super thanking me in the comments, checking out my services at drangelapuca.com. You can find my courses. I have already an online course on the left-hand path available if you want to check it out. You also can get individual lectures if you don't want to get the full course. You find all the options on my website. And also you can get tutoring sessions with me, one-to-one sessions. So plenty of options. So do check it out. And also, sign up for my newsletter. And if you like this video, don't forget to smash the like button. It's really, really important for me that you guys share my videos around because this is the only way the Symposium can grow. The algorithm doesn't particularly like me, so my growth is particularly thanks to you guys. So please keep recommending my videos around and sharing them with people that might be interested in my content. You are amazing for doing that. I know that you're like great at sharing my stuff, so keep doing that. And leave me a comment. I'd like to know what you thought about the content of this video. And activate the notification bell so that you will never miss a new upload from me. So thank you so much for being with me up until this point, and I really hope that you stay tuned for all the academic fun. Bye for now.